Let's play Tombcrawl. All you need, a piece of paper, 2d6, a pencil. I like to play with a drink. Note that this adventure did come with a soundtrack, which I will start now to set the mood. The character sheet. Very simple. Name, health, inventory. How to play. Determine health. 2d6 plus 2d6 plus 1d6. 11. 6. It's a total of 17. Plus 2. 19. One. You awaken in a panic, short of breath and unable to focus your vision. It appears you are sealed within a dilapidated tomb. The chamber is pitch black and reeks of stale air that could choke the dead. Using what little strength you possess, you slowly climb to your feet and attempt to compose your thoughts. You begin to feel around the chamber for anything of use. The faint sound of rumbling water, like the howl of an apparition, can be heard in the distance. What do you do? Let's see what happens if we wait for someone to come help us. We'll be turning to page 4. As you sit slumped over on the floor, you call out, hoping to catch someone's attention. Your desperate cries reverberate within the mold-ridden chamber's walls, seemingly trailing off into nothing after a few seconds. The days turn into weeks, but your lack of sanity prevents you from accepting your doom. Your desperate calls go unheard. You die alone, starved and raving mad, within the hollowed tomb, never to be seen again. Time to roll up a new character. Eight. 6. It's 12. No, 14. Plus 6 is 20. Instead, this time, let's try to discover the source of the water. Turn to 20. As you feel around the walls of the chamber, you discover a blunt piece of rusted steel. You pick it up. It has a promising weight to it. You trace the sound of the water to a crack in the ancient wall and begin to slam the piece of metal into it, hoping to break through. The dry rubble falls to the floor, giving you just enough room to crawl through. You are now standing in a bigger chamber with a high ceiling. There are 2 passageways. One of them goes east and the other goes west. What do you do? This one requires a roll. I roll an 8. We take the westward passage. You cautiously walk down the tunnel. The ceiling seems to be getting lower and lower with each step. You begin to hear a rumbling in the distance. It does not appear to be the water you had heard before, but something equally charging. It appears to be getting closer as well. Suddenly, a myriad of black rats appear. They are hurtling toward you with jagged and hungry teeth. 10 health. Seven. 2 damage to the rats. 10. Black rats cause infection, dealing 3 damage. 5. 2 damage to the rats. 8. Infection. Rats deal 3 damage. 9. Infection. Rats deal 3 damage. 8. Infection. Rats deal 3 damage. 2. Black rats deal 2 damage. 7. 2 damage to the rats. 6. 2 damage to the rats. 9. Infection. Rats cause 3 damage. 5. 2 damage to the rats. The rats are defeated. I have 3 HP remaining. Turn to 9 since I am victorious. With the gnawing of the rats far behind, you continue to traverse down the tunnel. The walls become increasingly narrow, leaving you with little room to progress. You squeeze your way through and come upon a chamber with a very deep hole in the ground. This is the only thing stopping you from moving forward. Out of necessity, you gather yourself and attempt to make a daring leap across. 7. Turn to 7. You take a running leap at the chasm, eyes closed, but only feel your feet brush against the edge of the other side. You begin to plummet, but grasp onto the edge with all of your might. You begin to call out frantically. Suddenly, a hand clings onto yours, and you are pulled up to safety. A man in rags is standing before you. He asks who you are. You tell him you don't remember, and he explains that he has also woken up in a pitch-black chamber. You both agree to press forward and find a way out of this place. Turn to 27. Great horned creature. Six. 6. 2. 11. 4 damage. 8. The creature kills me. Turn to 12. The great horned creature charges at you with full force. The horns of this beast pierce your chest and impale your vital organs, causing instant death. You have fought with all your might to make it this far, but it seems that it was not enough. You have died in vain, and, as a result, your spirit now haunts the tomb for eternity. We'll reset the music and try again. 6. 6. 1. That's 13. We awaken in a panic, and we're going to attempt to find the source of water. We take the eastern passage, because the die told us to. As you traverse down the narrow passage, the sound of rumbling water gets louder. You reach an opening and peer around the corner very slowly. A tall skeletal figure in a black robe is levitating in the center of the room. You attempt to turn around and run, but the figure draws you in using a dark, unexplainable force. You drop your piece of rusted steel in the struggle, but it isn't completely out of reach. "10. 3 damage. 5. 2 damage. 11. 3 damage. 8. 2 damage to the apparition. 12. 3 damage. 6. I pick up the rusted steel, but take 1 damage. 8. 2 damage to the apparition. 6. Deal 3 damage to apparition. 6. 3 damage to apparition. Might win this one. 7. We've killed the apparition. Turn to 22. As your rusted steel cracks and grinds against the skull of the ancient apparition, the soul of this ghastly foe visibly ascends upward and through the ceiling. The remaining vessel of bones immediately drops to the floor in a cloud of noxious dust. You are victorious in that you still exist, now able to press forward, and with any hope, escape this forsaken place. Turn to 6. You leave the chamber and press onward through the dilapidated tunnel system. Whoever built this place was very skilled, but there is no trace of a living being whatsoever. As you make your way past centuries of bone fragments, you discover a small chamber with a sarcophagi in the center. The markings in this burial chamber appear otherworldly. The sarcophagus is adorned with gold, silver, and other priceless artifacts. You muster up enough strength to push the lid off. A cloud of toxic gas is released and burns your eyes, throat, and lungs. Take 2 damage as a result of this. I am no longer still alive, so I turn to page 24. Although you have been badly burnt, you must see what is inside the sarcophagus. I must have misread that. I think I was on page 6. If I die, I turn to 17. I did die, so I turn to 17. The expulsion of centuries-old gas has chemically burned your extremities to the point of incapacitation. Your remains become a fixture of this burial chamber for aeons to come. Let's try again. 6. 4, that's 10. 2, that's 12. We'll go to the source of the water. It's page 20. 4 is the eastern passage, so 26. The apparition has 12 HP. A 4 deals 2 damage to me. A 5 is 2 damage to me. A 9 is 2 damage to it. A 7 is 2 damage to it. A 6 is 1 damage to me, but I now have the rusted steel. A 4 is 2 damage to me. A 5 is 2 damage to me. A 4 is 2 damage to me. Another 4 means I'm dead. Turn to 3. The ancient evil of this spirit becomes all too much to handle. As you drop to the floor, you feel a dark force take control of your being. Suddenly, you find yourself transported to the bottom of a pit, surrounded by many others like you. The defeated souls of the living, now damned to suffer eternally within the nightmare of a malevolent spirit. Let's try again. 5. 4, that's 9. Plus 6 is 15. We're going to discover the source of the water. It's page 20. We're going to go to the eastern passage. That's 26. Ancient apparition. A 6 means I take 1 damage, but have the rusted steel. A 10 means it deals 3 damage to me. A 6 means I deal 3 damage to it. A 4 means it deals 2 damage to me. A 9 means I deal 2 damage to it. A 4 means it deals 2 damage to me. A 9 means I deal 2 damage to it. A 5 means it deals 2 damage to me. An 8 means I deal 2 damage to it. 2 means it deals 2 damage to me. A 4 means it deals 2 damage to me. And a 6 means I deal 3 damage to it, killing it. I'm victorious and turn to page 22. Which means we turn to page 6 again. Taking 2 damage from the sarcophagus, which does kill me. Let's try again. PM Shram, number 5. 11. 8 would be a 19. Oh, I got good feelings about this one. 2 is 21. Fun, love, and HP. Page 1 tells us to go to page 20, if I remember right. A 5 takes us to the eastern passage. That's the apparition, right? We'll fight him again. 12, he does 3 damage to me. Brings me to 18. An 8 brings him to 10. An 8 brings him to 8. An 11 brings me to 15. A 6 deals 1 damage, but I have the rusted steel now. An 8 brings him to 6. A 9 brings him to 4. 8 brings him to 2. And a 3 brings me to 12. 4 brings me to 10. Goodness. 10, it's 3 damage. 7. 8. I kill him. Excellent. I have 7 HP. Turn to 22. Turn to 6. This time I'll survive the blast. That's nice. So I take 2 damage, which means I'm at 5 HP. I'm still alive, so I'll turn to page 24. Although you have been badly burnt, you must see what is inside the sarcophagus. The mummified remains of what looks to be an inhuman being line the bottom. A handmade gourd full of an unknown liquid lay propped up beside a small burlap pouch. You bravely reach in and recover both artifacts. You open the pouch slowly to reveal a small gemstone. This item may have a significance that has yet to be unveiled. Mark the gourd and gemstone in your inventory. You may consume the contents of the gourd at any time, as long as you are not engaged in battle. Huh. Interesting. Let's find out what the gourd does by turning to page 10. You open the gourd and without hesitation begin gulping it down. Suddenly, a well of strength springs up within you. Any damage you have taken thus far has been healed by divine intervention. You may use the gourd once more before discarding it from your inventory. You store your health to a maximum on your character sheet, but not any more than your initial starting amount, which was 22, I believe. Okay, return to last section, and I have one more use of the gourd. Turn to 15 to continue onward. You press forward out of the small burial chamber and back into the tunnel system. The deafening sound of rushing water is beginning to wear down on your sanity. You continue to explore and eventually come upon a doorway that leads to a wide open space inhabited by moss-covered stone and various types of insect. There is a small amount of crimson light in this area, but nowhere for light to shine through. There is a thick mist with a foul, rusty taste. A massive waterfall is raging in the distance. You realize that this must be the source of the water you've been hearing and run over to investigate. You stand before a torrent of raging water, but soon realize that it is not what you had thought. The waterfall is made up entirely of blood. You begin to lose hope once again, knowing that you're still trapped underground. Suddenly, a giant winged insect rises from the blood of the waterfall and dive bombs directly toward you. 16 health. A 6. You deal 2 damage to the hexapod. 5. 2 damage to the hexapod. 8. You trip during your attack, dealing 1 damage to the hexapod and 1 damage to yourself. 7. Trip during the attack, dealing 1 damage to yourself and 1 damage to the hexapod. 9. I trip again, apparently. Pretty clumsy, I guess. 10. Hexapod uses nosedive, causing 4 damage. Out of confusion, use only 1d6 for the next turn. Interesting. Alright, that brings me to 15. 1d6, I roll a 5, and I deal 2 damage to the hexapod. He's at 7, I'm at 15. 6. 2 damage to the hexapod. He's at 5. 9. 2 damage. He's at 3. 11. He does 4 damage. And I only use 1. 5. 2 damage. He's at 1. I'm at 11. 6. Nice. Ended his existence. I'm at 11. I can't use the gore during battle, so I better use it now. I'll go back to 22. I'm victorious, so I'm going to turn to page 5. With one final slash, your rusted steel severs the head of the horrid insect. The head and body both plummet down into the bloody waterfall with a satisfying splash. You have proven yourself in battle and are victorious once again. Continuing your exploration of this horrible place is your only option, so you begin to press onward. After about an hour of searching through this wide open section, you come upon a large stone tablet adorned with polished copper, creating a mirror-like effect. Below the mirror is a small, jagged hole. You realize that your gemstone would fit perfectly and rest it in the opening. The tablet begins to contort and reveals an elaborate inscription. It immediately appears indecipherable, but you must progress. You begin to ponder. For those watching, if you haven't figured it out yet, this is a puzzle. I do know the answer. I figured it out. It's not too hard, but if you don't want to know the answer, you should pause right about now and think about it. Alright, I assume everybody else following along has either solved it or wants to know the answer. So I'll tell you. If you look at this diagram in the mirror, it looks something like this. And as you can see, the answer to the puzzle is turn to 29. You have deciphered the message through a combination of perseverance and sheer logic. As a result, you discover a small map beneath the stone of the tablet that will guide you out of this hell. You can almost taste freedom. In your haste, you ignore the fact that the room is beginning to collapse. A trap has been triggered. Stone and dust, blood and bone, all twisting all around. You set your sights on 2 tunnels straight ahead and begin to run towards them. 8. We're taking the right tunnel. You barely make it into the tunnel alive. A tremendous boulder now blocks the entrance you came through. You can hear hooves clacking away in the distance. You have no option but to move forward towards the sound. You come to the edge of an entrance and peer inside. There is a horrific beast standing in the room. It appears to be a demon with the lower body of a powerful steed. It holds a jagged spear in its right hand. Suddenly, your foot slips and makes a loud noise as it hits a piece of rubble. The horrific beast hears you and begins marching towards you as it shrieks. You are prepared for battle. 15 health. Horrific Minotaur Beast. Good thing I drank that gourd. 4. Minotaur deals 3 damage to me. 8. 2 damage to the Minotaur. 5. 2 damage to the Minotaur. 8. 2 damage to the Minotaur. 6. 2 damage to the Minotaur. 11. You both clash, causing 2 damage to each other. 3. Minotaur deals 3 damage. 14. 4. 3 damage from the Minotaur. Brings me to 11. 7. 2 damage to the Minotaur. He's at 3. 11. Clash. 2 damage to each other. He's at 1. And I'm at 9. 3. 3 damage to me. 9. Clash. But that's the end of him, and I'm at 4. I'm victorious, so I turn to page 8. You have wiped the cursed beast from the existence, and have proven yourself a noble warrior. You are covered in the blood of your foe, and this brings about your primal hidden rage. You can still taste your freedom, and with each step, you're almost there. Turn to page 16. You find yourself in a room that appears slightly different than all the others. It does not seem near as menacing, and there are no ancient ghouls in sight. There is, however, a small dish resting upon a pillar in the far side of the room. You walk towards it, reach out and pick up 2 square stones with strange markings on them. You throw them back into the dish in haste, not realizing that you have just gambled your life. 3. Turn to 18. Suddenly, the room in which you are standing goes pitch black. You hear the ground beneath your feet give way across the room. It sounds like it's getting closer, and suddenly it stops. A small ember appears in front of you and slowly builds into a flame that soon rages like the inferno of hell. The light from the flame illuminates the room. It appears you are standing on a very thin pillar, about the length of your feet. You look down, only to see rows upon rows of jagged spikes. The heat of the fire is reaching an unbearable temperature, and you're beginning to lose your balance. The spikes below invite you to a painful death, but you fight with every inch of your being. Alas, you eventually succumb to your fiery impaled doom, forever to rot within the bowels of the structure. How unfortunate, just from rolling the die wrong. Let's see what happened if I would have rolled a 6 to 12. Suddenly, the room in which you stand goes pitch black. You hear the ground beneath your feet give way across the room. It sounds like it's getting closer, and suddenly it stops. A small ember appears in front of you, and slowly builds into a flame that soon rages like the inferno of hell. The light from the flames illuminate the room. It appears you are standing on a very thin pillar about the length of your feet. You look down, only to see rows upon rows of jagged spikes. The heat of the fire is reaching an unbearable temperature, and you're beginning to lose your balance. Suddenly, the pillar on which you stand begins to grind upward. The sound of mechanical pulleys can be heard within the walls. An opening appears in the ceiling, revealing the first natural sunlight you have felt in what seems like an eternity. The flames that were once scalding your face, now dissipating in the distance, the spikes below, receding back into the murky ground. Turn to 30. As you stand atop the tomb that almost ended your existence, you collapse in complete and utter bliss. You have conquered many foe and have overcome your doom. Through persistence, skill, luck, and effort, you have achieved the impossible and will live to tell the tale. You climb down from the structure and walk away, a true hero. That was Tombcrawl. Thanks for watching.